Good afternoon. My name is Danielle Harrell, and today I'm here to present on bridging the digital divide through equity-driven leadership. I'm going to begin by providing you with a brief outline of all the topics and components of this particular presentation. There will be an introduction. This introduction will share with you why the digital divide is important, how it began, what are the causes, and why it is so imperative that we address the digital divide. Motivation, the why behind this presentation, the why behind my motivation to research and look for solutions to ending the digital divide. Overview of the problem, understanding that this problem is not unique just to urban schools or rural schools or a particular sect of our society. The lack of digital equity across the board impacts everyone in our nation, and it impacts our ability to compete globally. Proposed solutions. There are no new wheels in education, but the goal here is to provide very tangible, quick solutions that snatch the low-hanging fruits and allow us to create opportunities for equity across the board and to decrease this digital divide incrementally till it completely is no longer in existence. The implementation plan. In order to change anything, we must develop systemic plans with benchmarks and timelines and identifiable goals, with a clear message that all people can believe, get behind, and support. Key findings. What I've learned throughout my research about the digital divide, how the digital divide is impacting us globally as a nation, and it is not regulated to specific um, zip codes. Impact. What decreasing the digital divide could do for the entire country, not just students in urban areas, again, not just students in rural areas, not students in intermediate suburbs, but for the United States to become or actually return to the one state where we led in science and medicine, where we led in academics across the board. In order to do that, there has to be a global message and it has to include all people. We cannot segregate education or technology. Conclusions. Thinking about those things that I've learned, thinking about those things that have impacted or created this level of passion for me as it relates to the digital divide and future directions. Where can we go next? The goal is to ensure that all people have access to technology at the same level. This particular presentation will focus on public schools, but when we think about the digital divide, we're also thinking about adults and citizens in our communities having the same level of access to technology, as technology creates access and resources and ability to be upwardly mobile. The big picture. This picture it says a lot. So we have one student who is actively engaged on her computer and another student who is actively engaged in a paper pencil activity. It doesn't say that one is better than the other because there are definitely times where we need students to be able to use pencil to paper. But it also lets us know that there is a time and a place where computers make education more readily accessible and allow students to apply the knowledge that they've already learned. So we're going to begin with a little background on the digital divide. The digital divide is the gap between individuals and communities who have access to modern technology and those who do not. The access gap is who has reliable devices and high-speed internet. So it's not just the devices. So oftentimes when schools go one-to-one, they think the battle is won, but it isn't, because some families, no matter what the socioeconomic status or the zip code, don't have access to reliable high-speed internet. This also goes for our rural communities. Usage gap, how technology is used, whether it's passive or active learning. So we don't want to give computers to students for the sake of giving it to them and allowing them to play games, download music, even though that is a part of it. The more they use it, the better they become at finding what they need educationally. But the goal is to create active learners. The goal is to remove all mitigating concerns like um, using adaptive technology to help all students access a level playing field in academics. For instance, we have some students who have difficulty decoding words, but to hear the information orally provides access to the general education curriculum. So for those students, we have books on tape so that they don't have to spend the entire time decoding those words and they are able to access the curriculum at grade level. In no way am I saying that we are not to ensure that students have the ability to read, but I'm also expecting that we use technology to enhance their learning. So yes, you cannot intervene your way out of a tier one or core instruction problem with intervention, but these interventions allow students to have access. The opportunity gap. Who benefits from the technology? And in what ways does it lead to academic success? When you think just with the sheer numbers of the amount of time students who are in a school that is one-to-one, where they can take those computers home, how much time they have to spend to perfect their assignments, to research their assignments, to find other avenues of exploration related to those topics. Whereas students who only have the opportunity to use their computers during the school day, they have a decreased amount of access to that technology. It is going to continue to widen um, the achievement gap. Passion. The what? The digital divide creates unequal access to technology. That unequal access to technology decreases our students' ability to compete globally. The current realities are some of our students don't have devices. There are families of five who are using one device, and potentially the parent could be working from home using that device as their primary source of income. Reliable internet. Even if we give students computers, sometimes again, they don't have reliable internet. Digital literacy skills. Giving students the opportunity to read at a level by which they cannot on their own. But again, remembering that we do have to backtrack and make sure that those students get access to reading interventions so that they're able to read on their own. Schools can't solve this on their own. This is a global problem that will have to be addressed by lawmakers, policymakers, and having educators and parents as a part of that stakeholder conversation. Also, right now, the current solutions are focused on access and not outcomes. The goal should be outcomes. As an educator, I know that when I am planning a unit for students to learn, I always begin with the end in mind. I want to know where we're going with this learning. That is how we have to plan to conquer the digital divide. What is our goal? It's not just access. The goal is to ensure all of our students and all of our citizens are globally, technologically competent. Why this matters. I won't read the entire slide to you, but what I want you to understand about the digital divide is this limits our ability to be a leader in technology. If we don't if we don't ignite the minds of all students, providing them with opportunities to use technology to create new things, to build careers that we don't know exist, we will continue to fall behind. In the United States, we want to be number one. We want to be number one in everything. But if we don't give equal access to everyone, we decrease our chances of becoming number one. So, this is important because of education outcomes, um, economic mobility, and civic participation. We want to make sure all students have the opportunity to go to a college or have the career of their choice and be technologically savvy. We want to make sure that a student who is born into poverty does not remain in poverty due to not having access to technology. And civic participation, we want everybody to be able to vote because change, voting changes policy, which changes lives. The root cause. I will read this slide to you because I think this is extremely important. The digital divide is rooted in systematic inequities such as poverty, underfunded schools, limited access to broadband, and unequal access to digital literacy instruction. It is systematic. Poorer schools have less access. Underfunded schools have to spend their money on those most important, most vital outcomes. And sometimes technology is not always the most important, um, um, fiscally responsible choice to spend those dollars on. Yet, when we don't spend those dollars to decrease the digital divide, what we are doing is setting our students up for failure, setting our students up to be pathologically poor, to increase the likelihood that generationally these students will remain in the same social class that their parents were in when there was a time that the American dream was for every generation to get better. So, what's the plan? The plan is to ensure access through devices and reliable connectivity and instruction that ensures that this technology, although students can use it for fun sometimes, but this technology is related to increasing the rigor in classroom, increasing student engagement, and increasing access. So we're going to work on access, which doesn't just mean devices, it means access to broadband internet, instruction. So the instruction is not just the core content, but it's also digital literacy and support, providing teachers with the skills they need in order to ensure that students have the capacity to use the technology in a way that increases their understanding of the core instruction and extends their learning. Key components. Number one-to-one devices. Students have to have access to those devices. Oftentimes, we fear sending those devices home to students because they won't come back. Um, and I have not found a solution to that because I know some students will not bring those computers back. Um, so that is something that, as we go further in the presentation, we'll talk about committees and partnerships and how we can decrease that likelihood. Community Wi-Fi partnerships. The school district, again, cannot solve this problem by themselves. So we have to partner with organizations who are able to provide these things for us at low cost or at no cost so that if they are investing in our students, our families, and our communities will start to invest in their companies. And this becomes a reciprocal relationship. Digital literacy integration. When I think about AI, some people are still using AI as if it is Google, when it is not. When it can take our learning, it can take um, our lesson planning, it can take our planning to the next level. We have to begin to teach students how to use this technology. And that begins with hiring professionals who know how to use the technology. Teacher professional development. I am a strong advocate for teacher professional development, but teacher professional development must be differentiated. The same way we ask teachers to differentiate for their classrooms, the same way we ask school leaders to differentiate for their teachers, this professional development, this digital literacy development has to be differentiated. Every teacher does not need one on one. We need to make sure that those who are digital experts, because millennials and Gen Z, they are digital natives. They can take the lead on this. And we have to be comfortable as educators to create a place of psychological safety that allows those teachers and individuals to be comfortable being experts and the others to be comfortable being learners. And then we train the trainer so that we always have a model that is sustainable. So if one person leaves, we still have the capacity to do the work that we set out to do. So the implementation is in three phases. Phase one, access. Device distribution, internet expansion. We have to make sure, because given devices without the ability to connect to the internet is futile. Phase two, instruction, teacher training and curriculum alignment. And however long that takes, we need to make sure that it is right. We need to make sure that the teachers have access at the level in which they can understand. We need to make sure that they are sharing that information with students and it is differentiated as well so that the students understand the information that the teacher is giving them. And to take it a step further, provide the same level of training for parents and community members, seniors in our community who are interested in becoming digital natives. Support, family workshops, community partnerships. There was a time where the community school was the hub of the community. It was the center and the focus of the community. All the events that happened at the school. Going back to that can also help us with the digital divide. As a principal of a school that was about 46% English language learners and 25% special education, I allowed our community members to use our computer labs. Definitely dating myself because we were not one-to-one, but we had a computer lab. And in that computer lab, we allowed them to take GED courses, reading courses, and English as a second language for our families. It changed the dynamic of the community. I was only in that position for 3 years, but I'm assuming that if we continue to do that, we definitely started to bridge the digital divide in that community. The future. We want to connect tech to culturally relevant pedagogy so that students of historically marginalized backgrounds see themselves not only in technology, but also in the future. I remember as a child, I was so excited that there was an African American woman on Star Trek Next Generation, because then I could see myself in the future. We have to make sure that we're giving all students the opportunity to see themselves in tech as well as see themselves in the future. Build an identity. We don't want their identities to be completely tied to technology, but we want technology to be a part of who they are because our students, again, are digital natives. They don't remember a time before the internet. Amplify student voice, they need to be heard. And so it says amplify student voice on this slide, but honestly, we are amplifying the voice of everyone who is a member of this community where there is a digital divide. We need to understand what teachers don't know. We need to understand what parents don't know. We need to understand from them in their own voice so that when we ask, how can we help? We are actually helping our students and promoting critical thinking skills. Again, computers are not just to play games or fancy typewriters. They are to extend our student learning so that they are prepared for careers that we don't know exist. Connecting identity. When we connect our students' identity to the technology, we are going to build their confidence. It is going to support student engagement in classes, and it is going to expand opportunities and opportunities for internship, coding classes, um, reading things that they didn't have the capacity to read before, um, exploring. When you think of an urban classroom setting, sometimes our students don't have the prior knowledge to write eloquently because they haven't had as many experiences as other students. Technology gives students the opportunity to fill in those missing areas of background knowledge instantaneously. We are going to expand their opportunities when we put them in the center of technology, center their identity and their lived experiences in technology. Stakeholders. In order for us to address this problem, again, this is not something that schools can do alone. So when I think about partners in education, we have to begin with students and families because they are who we serve. Then the next, of course, are teachers, because teachers are on the front lines. They're in the classrooms every day. They know what their students need far better than we do as school leaders. School leaders have to be comfortable understanding the things that they don't know and be willing to get that information. Part of being a great leader is being resourceful. District leaders, school leaders have to have the courage to ask district leaders to provide them with the things they need so that they can start to ebb away at the digital divide. Community organizations, so we can understand the corporate partners that are in the community. We understand which organizations have access to information or financial resources that could help us to, again, alleviate this digital divide. And technological partners. I know that people always think about Google or Apple, but there are small tech companies that are willing to share their time with our students. Sometimes the learning is more important than the fiscal gifts. Sometimes teaching our students again to code or unlocking a child's love for reading or a child's love for history or art simply by using the computer is more important than just the financial resources. So when we are looking for partnership, we are truly looking for partners in education. Conclusions. These are things we already know. Access alone does not equal equality or equity. Community voice is essential. We need to know what they think. Leadership must challenge systems. If you are not courageous enough to challenge systems for your students, then this work is not for you. Sustainable change requires collaboration. You want to put systems in place so if any person leaves the organization, the systems continue and the students and the teachers and the community and the leaders are still getting that same level of professional learning, support from the community, and they're also giving that back to the community. What we learned, the digital divide is an equity issue. It's not just about access. It's about polarizing communities. It's about not providing access to the American dream. It is strategic and it is aligned. Students need access, identity, and support. Future learning. Expand broadband policy advocacy. See what we're doing in our local, state, and federal level about ensuring that all students have broadband access. Increased culturally responsible tech integration. Students need to see themselves in the future They need to see themselves in technology in order for them to be successful. We also want to study long term student outcomes. Has adding one to one computers to our students' classrooms created increased learning? Has it been implemented effectively? Are our teachers comfortable sharing this information with students? Are our parents comfortable enough to say, I don't know how to do this. Can you help me so that I can help my child? These are the questions that we have to continuously ask. And the last question, which is our key question for the entire presentation, is how do we ensure access leads to opportunity and not just participation? Thank you.